Hey, Foot Clan, do you want to drape your body with the utter greatness that is your fantasy football team? Do you want to remind your league that humility is not an option and represent your fantasy football team with the proper way? You do that with a custom fantasy football jersey, and you do that at fantasychamps.com. They have 6 different color combinations. You can pick your team name, your number. You can make a custom jersey. You can wear it to your draft. You can wear it all year long and rub their face in it. So use the promo code BALLERS at fantasychamps.com.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from Draft.com Studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Welcome. Welcome one, welcome all. Everyone's welcome. Of course everyone's welcome at the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. We're back once more. The second running backs rankings show. We had a very good episode on Tuesday, so excited to have you back with us. Thursday, April 5th. Andy, Mike, and Jason, the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. You can find us on Twitter at the FF Ballers. We're also on YouTube. The website's thefantasyfootballers.com. And our fantasy football community filled with wonderful, wonderful people is jointhefoot.com.
Chock full.
And speaking of YouTube, Andy, show after the show today.
There is going to be a show after the show today on YouTube. A little bonus.
Delicious.
Over on the YouTube. Not everything is food, Jason.
Every show after the show, with the exception of one, maybe two.
Oh, the beats?
Were delicious. The beats, and then there might be another story in there that Jason would not attach that
Jason's
word
to. Where the majority of our show after the shows are delicious.
Yes.
Over on YouTube. Welcome
the
in.
Number one word.
We'll catch you up. We'll catch you up on the fantasy football news information. We have a good quick question. Let's start it off right now. Quick question. How much do you factor in offensive line when ranking and drafting players? How much do you factor in the offensive line? This comes from, we just released an article on the site. Our editor-in-chief himself, Kyle, released a forecasting offensive lines and drafting article. It's a great article, great read. Go check it out, thefantasyfootballers.com. But how much do you personally factor in the offensive line when ranking and drafting a team?
Well, first, I'm very happy that the Borgogan could escape the Upside Down long enough to write this article, because you really should check it out.
That is his last name, Kyle Borgogan.
And two, it certainly does
Swedish.
factor.
It's Swedish to Borgogan.
What? Was that a Swedish?
Is that the Swedish chef?
Yes. That was my attempt.
Oh, it's not bad.
Thanks.
It's not bad.
It's not my accents, but it's decent.
I mean,
the article is
a lot of the things
really
factor
great.
in. But, I mean, you got to check, team situation. Is the team even good? What's the opportunity? And offensive line certainly factors into that, because we have seen we've seen what we thought were good running backs have a terrible offensive line in front of them, and all of a sudden they look like they stink. So it has to be a factor of the puzzle.
So, yeah, to me it's a piece of the pie. You've had situations where, like, Darren McFadden had a hyper-productive year behind an amazing Dallas offensive line.
Right.
You also had last year. Todd Gurley had massive improvement. Jared Goff, that offense, there was a new head coach, but there was also an improved offensive line. You also have the case of Isaiah Crowell last year, where the offensive line in Cleveland, it was being ranked in the top 5 everywhere under the sun. And that was a case of reading too much into an offensive line and not enough into a team situation, success, pass-run ratio, all of those aspects. So it's a piece.
It is a piece. And I think, a lot of times the focus is on the great offensive lines. Dallas last year, the Browns, and what
the
happened
Raiders for many years.
Right, exactly. But I think you also need to take a look. Last year maybe not enough weight was given to what happened to the Cincinnati Bengals, and you saw as soon as week 1 hit, and week 2 and week 3 and etc. that their losses of their offensive line made a drastic change to their capabilities as an offense. So you do take a look, but the reality is this. If you just go and look, in fact, this is kind of what Kyle does in his article, but if you go and you look at all the different websites that rank offensive lines, how good are they at pass blocking, at run blocking, they're all over the map. Depending on what metric or how you view, how you score your lines, some have an offensive line super high and super low, so you have to take everything with a grain of salt. But in general, you can see which teams made big signings, big acquisitions, which teams were great last year, and then you put it all together.
We mentioned yesterday on the running back rankings show part 1, Leonard Fournette.
Right.
Obviously a productive year last year, some injury concerns, but also added Andrew Norwell to that offensive line. I'd prefer to look at bigger moves like that. Whitworth with with Los Angeles last year, as opposed to what you're saying where there is variance between different evaluators of offensive lines, whether it's Pro Football Focus or Football Outsiders or all these different websites that try to scout the offensive line. I like looking at the higher level stuff. They lost Whitworth in Cincinnati.
Exactly.
They gained Whitworth in Los Angeles. You saw a massive impact. Fair?
Fair.
All right. Just a reminder, the Ultimate Draft Kit, available for pre-sale. UltimateDraftKit.com. Dominate your 2018 fantasy football draft. Lowest possible price. Check it out. Also, we already talked about the show after the show. That'll be on YouTube. Make sure you check out previous episodes of this podcast. Recently, we did the ranks part 1 on Tuesday. If you didn't listen to that, we had a free agent winners and losers. We had an early mock draft a couple episodes ago, Dynasty Startup, 10 Things to Remember, and all of January we did the Truth episodes.
Which are great to go back. If you have not caught the
They're
Truth
more valuable
episodes,
now than they were then.
Yes. Yeah, because you forget. You forget what was the truth, how consistent we're players. You start getting the rose-colored glasses when you're thinking about what happened last season. You start letting the emotion weigh into it instead of remembering exactly what happened. So I would invite the Foot Clan to check those out.
Yeah, if you listened to them back then instead of now, what a mistake.
News and notes from around the league.
That reminds me, make sure you subscribe and listen to every episode as it's released.
Yes.
All right, news and notes. We didn't talk about this yet. Brice Butler signed by the Cardinals, formerly of the Cowboys. I think kind of the at least Twitter and evaluators out there, fantasy names, they think he's always been criminally underutilized in Dallas. 2-year contract with the Cardinals. I like this because there's a lot of opportunity in Arizona.
There is.
The Cardinals lost John Brown, who was really only able to be there half the time anyways. And as far as
and Jerron Brown as well.
Correct.
All Browns are out.
Yes, they and so, the thing is the question to me is, will he be the number 1 outside wide receiver, or will Chad Williams be able to step it up going into his sophomore year and take over that role? But there is a need for that. Larry Fitzgerald
J.J. Nelson is
clearly
there.
has the slot, and they need someone to step up on the outside.
So let's go heads up there. J.J. Nelson or Brice Butler?
Butler.
I would take Nelson. I would take Nelson. As of today. Depth chart wise.
And Brice Butler, if you don't know who he is, we talk about he was with Dallas. He was a late-round pick, but he's very large, and he's very
Oakland before.
Yeah, he was drafted by Oakland. He's a very athletic player. Is this a matter of he just hasn't really gotten the shot? He should receive a true opportunity with Arizona.
Yeah. There was a report the Cardinals had also extended a contract offer to Jordan Matthews, and I'm using all my resources to make this not happen.
And I think it would be a strange signing for the Cardinals.
With Larry already in the slot.
I like Jordan Matthews, but I think over his career we have enough proof that Jordan Matthews is a slot wide receiver. There's no shame in that, but the Arizona Cardinals have a Hall of Fame level.
Yeah, but when you got Sam Bradford, you need everyone running from the slot for those short, high accurate passes.
The only argument I've heard for Jordan Matthews is his best years were with Sam Bradford.
That's where I was going.
There you go. I'm way ahead of you, Mike. Way ahead of you. All right, Robby Anderson's a number of felony charges have been dropped.
Not all.
No. He was originally charged with a pile. He's left with, what, a stack?
Yes.
So this is good for Robby Anderson owners, fans. I mean, we all loved what he did on the field, obviously not off the field, but you want the least possible amount of suspension time if you're thinking fantasy-wise. And then Jay Gruden came out, talked about the fact Jordan Reed had a procedure done on his toes, which, that goes with his head and shoulders and knees? This is to finish that off?
Yes, true.
But that's why he's not expected to participate in OTAs. I believe he's trying not to participate in OTAs now for many, many years.
Very successful.
Succeeding.
It's hard not
really.
to talk about – I mean, we brought him up earlier. It's hard not to talk about him with so much cynicism towards his ability to be on the field when we all know that, like, I think we asked this question on the show. If Jordan Reed was healthy, and I told you right now, you get 16 games, Mike, I think you said he'd be top 3.
Guaranteed.
Yeah.
Jordan Reed is a monster. He's an absolute mismatch on the field, but that's on the field.
I would say top 4. You got 3 solid tight ends to compete with now with Ertz and Kelsey and Gronk. But yes, the point stands. He is very valuable when he's out there. He's not going to be out there.
Yeah. Maybe this is the year Jordan Reed plays 16. Sam Bradford plays 16.
Ooh.
What do you think?
I like the sound of it.
Is that a prop bet in Vegas
You
for
can
those
get
two?
some
You put them
real
together.
good odds.
You can prop bet anything, so I'm
So
sure.
what would the odds of just Sam Bradford playing 16 be?
Ooh.
Man.
Is that
10 to
20 to
1?
1?
Oh, I was going to go even higher. I was going to say 25 to 1.
25 to 1. And then Jordan Reed playing 16, that's got to be, 40 to 1?
40,000.
Are we doing a parlay here?
Well, we're turning it into one. What's this going to pay out on?
If it's both of them have to play all 16 games, I mean,
You bet $1, you're a millionaire.
you could probably get like 200 to 1 odds.
All right, any
Unfortunately.
other news you guys wanted to comment on before we move it on down the line?
Nope.
Running backs.
All right. As we said, Tuesday, we did the top 10 running backs. Lev Bell was number 1, Todd Gurley 2, David Johnson 3. Then it went Zeke, Kareem Hunt, Melvin Gordon, Leonard Fournette, Alvin Kamara, Dalvin Cook, and LaShawn McCoy rounding out the top 10. Those are our consensus rankings. And today we're getting through, 11 through 20, Brooks? Is that how far you think we're going to go?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Number 11, Devonta Freeman. Mike, you're currently the highest on Devonta Freeman. You have him at 9. Jason, 10. I have him at 12. Last year, he played 14 games, just under 200 carries, 865 yards, and 7 touchdowns. Only caught 36 passes last year for 317 yards and a touchdown on 46 targets. Ended the year as the 13th ranked fantasy running back. We're talking about half-point PPR scoring. And it's an interesting run for Devonta Freeman. In 2015, he was the number 1 back. 2016, he was the number 6 back. Last year, he ended up at number 13.
If these trends continue.
Yeah.
You don't like that trend, but you do like 3 consecutive years at RB13 or better, which only one other running back has done. Do you guys know the name?
Oh, Mark Ingram.
Yeah, Mark Ingram has done that as well.
And they are back-to-back here in our rankings. We've got to the point
Spoiler alert.
when you get to the end of the running back
That was the last show. How is that a spoiler?
No, he said Ingram and Freeman are back-to-back. Ingram's next.
Yeah, Ingram is.
Okay.
We're about
Yeah.
to get to
Apologize.
Ingram.
Do you listen to the show, Mike?
Do you even listen?
I thought he was 10, honestly.
He should be. No, the reality is at the end of the running back ones, we have a pair of unsexy picks. There's no huge, glorious upside. These are veterans who've gotten it done the last 3 years. Even
You don't think
longer
there's glorious upside for Devonta Freeman?
No, I like both of these guys. I'm saying to the world right now, I don't think anyone is excited to have either one of these guys as their primary RB1. I think you're safe with them there. I would be happy to have an Antonio Brown and a Devonta Freeman as my first 2 picks. I got no problem with that.
Mike, you have him the highest at 9. What do you like about Freeman heading into 2018?
Just the history of Devonta Freeman is a solid running back.
It's a good book.
The Falcons are a tremendous offense. The concerns, though, just to side with Jason, you saw the target drop from Kyle Shanahan to Steve Sarkisian's offense from 65 to 47. Now, granted, he did miss a handful of games, but we saw his carries inside the 10 drop from 27 to 19. There was so many times I would be watching a Falcons game, them on the 1, and give it to Freeman. We have years of experience seeing that Devonta Freeman's a fantastic goal line back, just scored a touchdown, and then Sarkisian would throw some wild goose chase play in there where it's a play action and we try and throw it to Austin Hooper or something. So it might be frustrating, but overall, even saying those disparaging things, I still think that Freeman is a great choice in an RB1.
All right, Mark Ingram is 12. Jason, did you want to tack on a little extra sauce?
I guess the reality is he's a very talented player, but his role is a little scary given the Sarks change last year. On a 16-game pace, he would have had 225 carries, which you kind of want more than that for your
225
main.
is okay.
It's not a bad number.
As long as the receptions are there.
Right, but that's the issue. So, I mean –
yeah, Kamara had
that's where
120.
That's where I say I feel like the upside, the sexiness isn't quite there for Freeman. He's safe, but he's not going to finish next year as the running back one. It's just not going to happen.
Well, unless
it's touchdowns. He only had 8 touchdowns total last year through the air and on the ground. If you got back to double-digit range with Freeman, same carries, put him in about 40 receptions, you could be in that top 5.
I would think he would need a little bit more than 40 receptions. I think it's volume because you go back to 2 years ago when he was the one. That was Tevin Coleman's rookie year, and Tevin Coleman was injured for the majority of the season.
So Freeman and Ingram both share a similar situation in the fact that they are members of a very talented backfield. Ingram is our number 12, and I got him at 11, Jason 12, Mike 13, so we all have him in the same range pretty much. Last year he was the RB6. He was kind of Jason's guy last year heading into the season, even though we had Ingram and Kamara and Peterson and some unknowns. We just brought it up. Only Ingram and Freeman have been RB13 or better in the last 3 seasons. And yet, because of the Kamara hype, there's still some hesitancy about Mark Ingram. Are we fools? Are we just fools to not buy in as a top 6 guy? Why are we willing to put, I have Kamara up at 5. Why do we hesitate with Ingram? He still had 58 receptions.
Yeah,
which, by the way, was 22 more than Freeman. 230 carries, which is a ton more than Freeman, and had a monstrous year. I mean, 5th most yards rushed in the league with over 1,100.
I will say this. You're right. 10th most touches at the running back position, but you saw the final 7 games, the rushing attempts went down for Mark Ingram. He was averaging 12 attempts a game. However, he was also averaging 4 receptions a game during those final 7. Decrease in rushing, increase in receiving, and we know that receptions are more valuable than rushing attempts. So that kind of balanced things out. But the 12 rushing touchdowns, the split changing more to possibly in Kamara's favor, at least more even, so that's the only reason why I'm not treating Mark Ingram like a top 6 running back, even though he can easily finish.
What's his ceiling?
I think his ceiling is about there. It's about
around
6. 5 or 6. He doesn't have enough volume to be the workhorse, and he's not the best back in the backfield. That's the issue. That's
the
why
best back in the backfield.
Correct. He's not the best running back of that
I
tandem.
got you.
Alvin Kamara is a better, more electric running back. Everybody knows that. When you watch, you just see he does a little bit more. Now, that's not to disparage Ingram in his own right, who is great. This is a running back who, in this system for Sean Payton, the last 3 years has been a top 13 back, and he's trended up. I don't understand why he's so year after year disrespected when it comes to the draft season. I will have plenty of Mark Ingram shares, but his upside is capped because he's not going to be the universal, 70% market share workhorse running back the way that you've got in a Todd Gurley. So it kind of takes him away from that. But he's going to get goal line. He's involved in the passing game. He's solid on the ground.
The goal line is what I was going to bring up, is that towards the end of the year, we started seeing Kamara take goal line carries away. So if that role is not locked in 100% of the time, they're at the 1, you know that Ingram's going to go in.
Yeah, but Ingram has never had the locked-in goal line role. The last 3 years, they always pull him out, half the time. It's just a crapshoot whether or not they're going to give Mark Ingram the ball there, but he's still good enough. That's where I say he's like, I would be shocked if he's not a top 15 running back next year.
Sure.
but I don't think he's got a chance to be in the top 5. So he's kind of locked and loaded. But for where you're getting him in the draft, I think you're going to end up with a happy value. I like Mark Ingram. You know who else I like? I like Pristine Auction. Pristine Auction is a great sponsor of the show, and more importantly, they are a great resource for you in your life to amaze people. You want to amaze people with amazing gifts? You go to Pristine Auction and get signed memorabilia from celebrities, sports stars, everything around the studio. That's how we have. You want to impress people who come into your living room and go, how do you have 10 signed autographed jerseys? Are you a millionaire? Nope. Well, and you'll never tell them the secret.
Yeah, you tell them yes.
Yes, of course. Yeah, you tell them you are. But then the secret is pristineauction.com. I mean, look at this. T.Y. Hilton signed jersey went yesterday for $44. Stefan Diggs, $46. It's awesome. So go to Pristine Auction, Pristine auction.com. Make a completely free account. Check out these daily auctions. You will not be disappointed. Make sure you let them know that you came from the Fantasy Footballers.
All right. Christian McCaffrey coming in at number 13. We all have him at 14 on our individual rankings, 13 on our consensus rankings. Last year we saw him kind of evolve into his role, but 80 receptions is the headline there. If you look at what Christian McCaffrey and Alvin Kamara did last year, the volume is almost identical, okay? The production was much greater for Alvin Kamara in terms of touchdowns, in terms of efficiency. But when you look at the total carries, I mean, receptions, they're basically the same.
They are.
And so I've been a big McCaffrey fan this offseason. They obviously lost Jonathan Stewart in Carolina. If you don't know that, Jonathan Stewart's been kind of their running back for many years. McCaffrey came onto the scene last year, first-round pick, and I think he gained the trust of the offensive coordinator there, of Cam Newton, and ended up the RB11. And so, again, it shows you have two running backs that finished in that top 12 with Kamara and McCaffrey pretty much on the back of receiving yards and receiving or on receptions. So what do we think about Christian McCaffrey heading into this year? Is there any of us that see potential regression as opposed to kind of a guaranteed workload?
I really don't see much potential regression here because he's got the kind of role more on lockdown with Jonathan Stewart out of the way. The one worry I have, we talked about this to open the show, offensive lines, you know, when you get a great piece, someone else is losing a great piece. You brought it up earlier, Andrew Norwell. He's gone now from the Panthers, so their offensive line might be a little bit worse for run blocking. But you're talking about a guy who is so secure because of the receiving game. I think Norv Turner coming in as a new offensive coordinator is going to be a benefit to him. And you have another year of experience with Cam Newton. Keep in mind, you know, when I was talking kind of down about McCaffrey last offseason as far as being a Panther, a lot of that was because Cam had not spent a whole lot of time throwing to the running back. They've got an entire season, now another offseason under their belt to figure out that chemistry. I think you're going to see a little bit more efficiency in the passing game for Christian McCaffrey, and that'll make up for any deficiencies in the offensive line. I don't see regression. And I think potential outcome here, you have a potential for a guy who could be a top 5 running back.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you need to see, much like my argument for my case for Alvin Kamara to have an equal valued season, I think you got to see the volume go up for McCaffrey to do that. But like you said, the opportunity's there. Last year targeted 7.1 times per game, tied with Lev Bell for the highest at the running back position. He can catch the ball. I'd like to see more big plays from him. That's the one thing. You'd like to see a few more highlights from Christian McCaffrey. All right, number 14 on our running back rankings, Jerick McKinnon. Welcome. Welcome to the potential top tier of the running back position. So last year, forced into a role throughout the season with Minnesota. It worked out well, being that he was a free agent and had the opportunity to showcase, he's just 25 years old, showcase what he had. And we talked about this a few shows ago. The 49ers, they went out. They identified Jerick McKinnon as the back they wanted to acquire. They let Carlos Hyde leave. And Kyle Shanahan brings in Jerick McKinnon, who last year had almost 1,000 total yards, ended as the RB22, but now gets to, take the reins in San Francisco.
And I just talked about how how a reception is more valuable than a rushing attempt. Look at, Kamara and Christian McCaffrey, where both of those guys are right around the 120 rushing mark. And we know that Kyle Shanahan utilizes his running backs in the passing game. Go back 2 years or 3 years ago for Atlanta, 138 targets to the running back position. The next year, Freeman and Coleman combined for 105 targets. Last year, the 49ers had the third highest target share going to the running back position. Over 27% of targets went to the running back. Carlos Hyde had 88. Matt Breida had 36. Jerick McKinnon is going to see that, or at least I'm projecting him to see that type of passing volume that we loved for Freeman 2 years ago, that we got to experience for Carlos Hyde this past year. So Jerick McKinnon, I think, he's going to be a hot name this offseason. We'll see how high the hype train leads him up the average draft position. But Jerick McKinnon feels very safe as of right now heading into the draft. Maybe the draft changes that, but I don't expect it to.
Do you feel like he's very safe against that front seven in Los Angeles?
I mean, it's not preferable. However, that's,
I hear they have to play them 16 times a year.
I was going to say they play them twice. There's no guarantee that they.
That's what passing game viability does.
Exactly.
Though. It gives you a higher floor.
You don't have to just run into it every single time. Jerick McKinnon gets to go out in space.
Yeah. Someone should have told Bishop Sankey that. He might still be in the NFL. All right, let's talk about Jordan Howard.
Someone should have told Jeff Fisher that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Jordan Howard, number 15 on our ranks. Jason and I have him a little lower than Mike. We both have him at 16. Mike, you got him up at 12, so inside that top 12. Last year, look, it was going to be hard to meet expectations last year on a team that struggled, but he still had 276 carries for over 1,100 yards, 9 touchdowns. Couldn't really catch. Couldn't catch the ball. 23 receptions for 125 yards on 32 targets. Ended up the RB12, solid. And I think the storyline behind Jordan Howard, who through the first 2 years of his career have put up, he's put up top 12 performances over the course of the season. The issue was the bust percentage last year.
Yes.
Very high, 38% of games he busted. And then the issue is also Tariq Cohen and Nagy and actually having some outside weapons. Does that lend itself the way that we normally bend, which is, look, better offense is better for the running back in general, more opportunities to score? Or do you see that 9 touchdown number not really being something he's going to move up on despite the optimism in the offense?
The touchdowns, those things fluctuate. So I would project him for right around that 7 to 9 mark. But why I'm excited for Jordan Howard, he had 299 touches last year. That's a great number. I love it. But you have Matt Nagy coming in. When Matt Nagy took over play calling for the Chiefs, he screwed up his first game. He gave Kareem Hunt 9 attempts. After that, the next 3 games, which were the final 3 games of the regular season, Kareem Hunt averaged 26 rushing attempts per game. And you said it, Andy. Now they have actual passing weapons in the receiving game in Chicago, which they did not have last year. You have a true alpha number 1 in Allen Robinson, leading away from just completely stacking the box in every single play. As long as the play calling is imaginative, which I believe it will be. So I like Jordan Howard moving forward. Unfortunately, he is not a pass-catching running back, which caps things out. It leads to something like a 38% bust rate, which is by far the highest percentage of busted games for a running back 1 of last year. But I still love him moving forward into next year.
Yeah, I will admit that Jordan Howard is one of the most difficult players that I have, getting a grasp on what his role is going to be in Matt Nagy's system. Now, Matt Nagy came in. He said some really glowing things about Jordan Howard, which is always promising. But then, you kind of expect that. You'd be surprised if he came in and go, well, we're going to have to blow up the running back core. Our only, Pro Bowler from offense. So he had the NFL leading rusher last year, and Jordan Howard is the type that obviously can do that. So I go back and forth because he also wants a guy that can catch the ball that is not Jordan Howard. And what Nagy said is that this guy's got a very unique skill set, but it's a good unique, and we're going to have to find out how to use him. That phrase is like, okay, I could see it going either way.
43% of the time, Jordan Howard faced 8 or more men in the box. 43% of his carries. That leads to the, 1.5 yards before contact per carry. A lot of guys in the box. Almost nobody that was a full-time back faced more defenders in the box on a regular basis. Leonard Fournette actually had more, 48% of the time. That would be the Blake Bortles disrespect that Jacksonville faced. But very interesting. And, yes, I think that there's some hesitation with Jordan Howard, and maybe he ends up being kind of that ideal RB2 for your team if you can somehow sneak him, right?
I think that's where he will be drafted, and
I'll be very
happy about it.
I would love him as my second running back, where he's got the potential to be one of those top 10 running backs this year with an improved offense, less men in the box that he's running against.
One of the reasons I enjoy the deeper ranking shows is because you start to talk about players with more question marks overall and more
range of outcomes,
bets that you have to make as a fantasy owner saying, yes, I believe this about that player. No, I don't believe that. Joe Mixon comes in at number 16, another player that I think will be I think he'll be drafted fairly high. Yes. Because this is his backfield now. This is his opportunity, and because of the youth and the skill set, he averaged 10.4 yards after the catch. This was up there. So even though he has Gio Bernard, another pass catcher in the backfield in Cincinnati, he performed well when he got the ball out of the backfield. But on the ground last year, nothing really to smile about. 178 carries, 626 yards, 4 touchdowns, only 30 receptions. But now what do we expect from Joe Mixon?
I expect him to be better. I really, really do.
That's good.
I mean, the offensive line, we talked about it earlier. The Bengals were terrible. They've already made some improvements or some attempted improvements for their offensive line. And when you watched Joe Mixon in college, he was truly special. When I watched Joe Mixon in the NFL, I didn't see that. I mean, it was really, really disappointing. He was still okay. He didn't, completely poop your draft stock. I've got him in Dynasty, and everyone's trying to trade for him.
What are you talking? He was drafted in like the third or fourth round last year, and he was RB34.
Oh, I would say that would be. I'm talking Dynasty. Like he was okay. He was somewhere between the 3rd to 5th pick in a Dynasty rookie draft last year, and he hasn't done anything to ruin that to say he's a bust. But I don't think anybody who drafted him was happy with what he did on the field. But I see the team as a whole getting healthier, the offensive line being improved, and now Mixon coming in to day one as the starter versus having to try to find his way middle of the season, not getting training camp in that role. I think Mixon will genuinely shine. I think he'll be great this season.
Jason, you have him at 13. I got him at 15. Mike, 17. And he does have, from a range of outcomes standpoint, talent, opportunity. If the offensive line's improved, they're going to commit to Joe Mixon. That's the fact. You're going to get a season of seeing what Joe Mixon has, and that's something you should be excited about as a fantasy owner.
See, I still think that Gio will be heavily utilized.
Yeah, you can only use Gio so much. There's a little like a health meter on him. Oh, I think we've talked about that before.
He does have a little bit of that, the Amendola health meter.
Yeah, you only can give him so much work. But Derrick Henry comes in at number 17. Derrick Henry is going to be another hot topic all offseason. Now you've added Dion Lewis to that backfield, but Derrick Henry will get his opportunity to be the guy in the backfield. And last year, 50% of the time Derrick Henry faced 8+ in the box. To me, that screams of the predictability of that offense last year, which is one of the reasons why, despite making the playoffs, they made a change at the head coaching position. So do we have confidence that they're going to use Derrick Henry the right way, and we'll get to see this kind of explosive, evasive skill set? You saw him last year. I believe he and Dion Lewis led the league in yards after first contact. So what are we going to see from Derrick Henry? What is the range of outcomes now that Dion Lewis has been added to the backfield.
Here's the range of outcomes for Derrick Henry. We have a sample size last year of 3 games with no DeMarco Murray. And here's what happened. Against Jacksonville, he ran the ball 28 times. I love it. He rushed the ball on those 28 carries. He gained 51 yards.
Not as much.
I don't love that as much.
Yeah, you don't like
Look,
that.
it's Jacksonville, but Derrick Henry saved the day with a 66-yard touchdown reception. The wild card weekend against the Chiefs, if you don't remember this, it was amazing. It was feed Derrick Henry the ball, watch him destroy, because 23 carries, 156 yards, and a rushing touchdown. He was an absolute beast. And then the next week against the Patriots, 12 for 28. That's your range of outcomes for Derrick Henry.
Well, but see, for that first game, the really good game, that's when the ownership was up there ripping up DeMarco Murray's contract for the next year. So they couldn't undo that after he didn't play well the next week.
Just saying, it's kind of all over the map. I think that the Titans, their staff has spoke volumes about can Derrick Henry actually be that 3-down guy that that draft Twitter assumed that he was going to be when he was taken in the second round? And the Titans say no. I don't think that means you need to totally dismiss Derrick Henry. He's still going to get the ball. He's still going to carry it, 250-plus times?
Yes. And just so you know, because we won't get all the way to 25, we have Dion Lewis as our consensus 25, Derrick Henry at 17.
As I sit here, I already wrote down a note to look at that Henry versus Dion Lewis, because I actually think that at the end of the year, Dion Lewis,
better value?
He'll definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, be the better value come draft day. But I think there's a chance he's just the better back, more fantasy points, a la Alvin Kamara. You know the
yeah, that's a fair comparison.
The value you get in the passing game versus the running game, that's all going to Dion Lewis. But there will be rushing work for Dion Lewis as well.
We don't know how they're going to use Lewis. If you had the confidence of like what we saw at the end of the year, where he was the RB5 in PPR leagues in New England, I think there's just question marks. New coaching staff. Does Mariota bounce back? Is the offensive line improved? I think there are I think there's some value to be had in that backfield. I don't know which guy it is.
You're right. But the new staff coming in got rid of DeMarco, his bloated contract, and they brought in Dion Lewis. They didn't say, okay, Henry, you're the guy. They went out and said it's going to be a 1A, 1B. That's how I interpret that.
Actually, they technically said, Henry, you're going to be the guy, and did all of that confidence, talked about him being a pass catcher, blah, 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 and then they signed Dion Lewis.
But what they did,
because you have to sign somebody.
Opposite.
Yeah, but also built into Derrick Henry is the fact that Dion Lewis has played a full season one time.
True.
Before that, it was 7 games,
right.
7 games, 9 games.
Yes, also built into Derrick Henry is a Mack truck.
That's also true.
Each leg is one truck.
Number 18 on the running back rankings, it's Carlos Hyde, and no surprise Mike has him highest among the three of us at 18, so you didn't go crazy. And then Jason, 19. I have him at 24. I'll be honest with you, I ranked him at 24 because I am conceding that the Browns have 17 draft picks as of today. I believe something in the top half of the draft is going the running back direction. Could be as early as number 4 with Saquon Barkley. So I do not think Carlos Hyde will have as much of the share of the backfield as maybe you guys are projecting. I don't know how you considered it. That's what we're talking about. Last year, though, I mean, the last 2 years, 2016, he was the 15th best back. 2017. Last year, number 9 on a bad team. Yes. Got it done. 240 carries. Under 1,000 yards. He was stuffed 26% of the time, and he just never fit what Kyle Shanahan wanted in the backfield. But we need to remember that just because that coach doesn't want him, doesn't mean he was bad, right?
No, Carlos Hyde was great.
His release, not being re-signed there, wasn't necessarily an indictment on his ability.
Right, just didn't fit that scheme. And if Carlos Hyde at the end of the year is a top 12 back, I would not be shocked. He is a much, much better back than Isaiah Crowell, who last year was kind of in discussion in ADP, was kind of inching his way up to that running back 1 look. he's a rich man's Isaiah Crowell. That's not a great compliment.
No, that's fair.
But that's what he is. So, Isaiah Crowell last year finished about 30th. Right now we've got, Carlos Hyde ranked about 19th. What he did last year with his 50-plus receptions, it's not happening with Duke Johnson and Jarvis Landry. Those targets aren't going to Carlos Hyde. Will his touchdown volume
And if they do, Landry will just stick out his arms and take them.
Right, he'll just go, no, that's
steal
fine.
them.
Mine. I got to get to 100.
You got to call it.
So, he's hard to rank because I don't expect him to be involved a lot in the passing game. I think he is a very talented running back. I do think the offense is going to get better, but I don't trust the Browns as an organization.
He's covered in all of these different, very easy to explain warts. So that could be great value if those things, if he breaks through. But it is a tall task to break through in Cleveland. It is a tall task to break through as a transitioning running back to a new team. And so there are piles of question marks.
Yeah, I do think he'll probably be a value because if the Browns don't grab another running back, nobody's going to want to hold the Browns running back again, but he is a
There's just no way they won't. With his health and then just having Duke Johnson on the roster, there's no way they don't draft somebody.
Well, but drafting somebody in the fourth round.
In the top 4 rounds. I'd water bet that.
In the top
I would water bet top 4 rounds for Browns.
But I'm saying even a running back drafted in the 4th round to me would pose no threat.
No threat?
No threat.
That's ridiculous.
A 4th round. I don't think that's a ridiculous statement. I mean, you've got a lot of 4th round running backs that don't do all that much.
And you have a lot that do as well.
Sure, but they're not coming in behind a newly signed.
Yes, okay. 3 years, $15 million. If they do that, if they honestly draft a running back in the 4th round or higher to come and compete against Carlos Hyde with everything else they could do that team, they are morons.
No, they're not.
Yes.
No, they're not at all. Carlos Hyde has an injury history that's well documented, and you don't have another banger behind him. You have nobody else established. You're not talking about trying to get somebody to come in and win the job. The NFL teams, they look at it like, let's solidify the running back position. So you bring in a guy to be a complement to Carlos Hyde, then you have him off the field on 3rd down, and then every 3rd drive you've got a guy drafted in the 3rd round coming in and taking some carries, so you keep him healthy. Yeah. Nobody thinks Carlos Hyde can stay healthy a whole season as your only running back.
Yeah,
I'm going to move him down based on every. No, I've got him. That's why I got him at 24. You guys have him a little higher.
Right.
All right, Rex Burkhead is tied. Rex Burkhead is tied with Carlos Hyde. Burkhead coming in at 18 on my rankings. Mike's got him at 20. Jason, you're at 23.
Jason.
This is much more.
I love
it. It's Andy's comment about Carlos Hyde. It's the belief that if someone else comes in there, it would stand to reason that Jeremy Hill's not going to be their only acquisition. If he is, Rex Burkhead will shoot up my rankings. I talked about what happened. Whenever Rex Burkhead got at least 10 touches, he was averaging over 17 points a game in half-point PPR, which is outstanding. It's tied with Alvin Kamara last year. I love Rex Burkhead. My ranking is kind of a tempering the ability to know whatever the Patriots are going to do with the running backs.
You'll never know, though.
Well,
exactly.
Gillislee, guys. Gillislee is much more important to talk about than Jeremy Hill. Gillislee's under contract and now has an opportunity to be re-involved in that offense.
But I'm less afraid of
Burkhead
Gillislee.
was already the RB12 over the last 7 weeks with Deion Lewis taking a bunch of that work. I like him as a top 24 guy on a great offense. And I know that New England's not going to go out and spend big money. Now, does DeMarco Murray sign there all of a sudden? Or, another kind of like Darren Sproles or something like that?
The greatest concern for me for Rex Burkhead would be they go out and they get another pass-catching specialist.
Right. Like Sproles.
Yes. And because I know James White is that guy, but Rex Burkhead is versatile, and he's an excellent pass catcher as well. But if all of a sudden you're competing for that role and they decide to re-implement Mike Gillislee as the goal line back, there's a lot of for me, even as a Rex Burkhead truther, I think I have more concern about Rex Burkhead's role in the offense than I do or for Carlos Hyde.
I think that's very fair. Because my next question to both of you was, do you really think New England wants to use him on 1st and 2nd down? Because I don't really think they do. I think they're willing to use him, But the role that they would carve out for Burkhead, I don't think is going to be this. We're going to put him down there as our every down back.
No, that's why I say if the roster stays as it is, he will be. I think they'll be his. He'll be the first and second down back. He'll beat Gilly. They were both on the roster last year. He beat Gilly last year, so I'm not concerned that much. But I believe you're correct when you say they don't really want that. That's why I just can't see them standing pat.
All right, let's round it out with number 20, a name I never thought would be on a preseason running back ranking list.
I don't blame you.
Alex
Pitter patter, happy feet.
Collins. Alex Collins. Jason, I believe you just completed your second Alex Collins tattoo.
Yeah.
On the rib cage, was it?
Yeah, well, one is a foot on the left rib cage. The other is a foot on the right. He's tap dancing and Irish dancing his way.
Ooh.
And slowly I'm going to bring the feet towards my heart.
Collins and Flatley for life. Am I right?
Yeah.
So you like Alex Collins?
I think he was great. My biggest worry with Alex Collins is basically Philip Dorsett.
Philip Dorsett.
Dorsett.
I'm sorry.
What
No,
do you know about Philip Dorsett?
Sorry. No, it'll seem just the same. Is Kamar Aiken? Because let me explain that. Because
okay, no, okay. I follow.
you follow the logic. You see what I'm saying. Here's what happened to
The
Kamar.
fact that you messed up with the Philip
I know.
Dorsett, though,
Yeah, that's great.
It was already going to be a hard connection before you said the name wrong.
Yes. Kamar Aiken, a couple of years ago, due to injury with this regime, with the Ravens, with this coaching staff, was thrust into a starting role, and he excelled at it. I thought he was great. The reception perception tracking said he is very good. I was all excited for Kamar Aiken because he was a good wide receiver. And then when the other guys who were injured got healthy and they came back, poof, they said, no, we never wanted Kamar Aiken to be the guy. He did a great job, pat on the back, and send him on your way. And
$630,000 is what they have invested.
And that's not much.
In Alex Collins.
And so, Alex Collins was this regime thrust into a starting role that was not the guy they wanted, but due to injury, he took over the role. I think he was magnificent. He was great.
10-plus yards on 27 of his 212 carries, fourth best in the league.
If it comes, we're going into week 1 of the season and it looks like he's the clear starter, he's been named the starter, I'm going to move him way up my rankings because I believe in him. I wouldn't be shocked if he's not on the roster. That's how much I don't trust the Ravens here. And this is kind of a theme, right? We're getting into these
don't disagree with any of what you're
tier 2
saying.
running backs where it's like they're it's a matter of the coaches and the opportunity.
My favorite part of that whole elaborate story is the fact that he could have just said Terrence West, who was the running back for the Baltimore Ravens 2 years ago, and we thought he was going to be
the difference is I never thought Terrence West looked good.
That's fine, but Terrence West performed as the running back for the Ravens.
He looked good for a little while. Look, it's all about competition on this roster for the running back position. Dixon,
it's going to say,
Collins,
do not
West,
forget Kenneth Dixon.
They will be competing for opportunities. They may draft someone as well. We're going to be moving on to, is it wide receivers next, Brooks?
Oh, yeah.
Or is it a mystery that you only have to find out by listening?
Let's go with mystery. It certainly might not be wide receivers.
Could be anything.
Mailbag.
You all right there?
Yeah.
All right, if you have a question, thefantasyfootballers.com. That's the website. You go there, you click the Submit a Question button, and send us your question. You can also dial our voicemail hotline, 302-464-TFFB. Very easy to leave us a message. Keep them tight. Keep them short, brief, to the point, and we'll get them on the show like this one.
Hey, ballers. This is Spencer from Roanoke, Virginia. I was listening to the running backs episode this morning and was reminded of the frustration that was being a Kareem Hunt owner. I'd like to create emotion and see your thoughts. Anytime Andy Reid inevitably underuses a great running back, we should call them Reid tired, as in Kareem Hunt got Reid tired this game so we can all sulk together. Your thoughts? Thanks.
Wait, important question.
I can get behind that. I mean, it's going to be on a game-by-game basis, but there were a couple games he got retired.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Ultimately, the judge is the one that
yes.
has the rule.
Judge Giamatti, what is your ruling?
What do you think, Judge?
It passes.
Yeah.
All right.
Good.
So if poor Kareem Hunt, you're going to get retired a couple of times.
Yes.
All right, question coming in from Mark in Atlanta. Should I keep Thielen for an 11th round or Dalvin Cook for a 3rd round?
Ooh.
Already has Gurley and Hopkins on the roster. Gurley was for a 2nd, and then Hopkins for a 4th. And so you'd have a 1st rounder, but you would not have a 2nd and 3rd if you kept Dalvin Cook. You would now have a 2nd, 3rd, and 4th if you kept Dalvin Cook. That being said,
I'm hooked on this.
Wow.
I'm hooked on a Thielen.
I'm going to take Thielen for essentially free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've already got a stud running back. It's so you're not pushed into that corner where everyone has one in a keeper league. You're going to be forced to take that, even though it's less value. In the 11th round, Adam Thielen, I still think, is a top 10 wide receiver. It's great.
Yeah, I lean that way as well.
All right, Quincy in Harrisburg. Where do you guys think Devontae Adams will finish? Drafted him in almost every mock that I have done this year and in the 2nd or 3rd round. It is hard to turn down Aaron Rodgers' #1 receiver.
I completely agree. Where does he finish? Top 10, I think, is a lock. And you have top 5 upside with him if the touchdowns continue.
Fair?
Yeah.
Do you agree, Jason?
I absolutely agree. I put him at 7. That's where I'll say. Except we'll get into more specifics maybe next episode.
Oh!
We don't know. Maybe not.
But
I do agree. He's a lock for we know, but they don't.
But it's good to tell them what's happening.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about wide receivers coming up. Will it be next episode? We still don't know, Mike.
Kamar Aiken's the real problem here.
It's that darn Philip Dorsett.
It's that darn Philip Dorsett. Hey, stay tuned for the show after the show on YouTube. So I guess don't stay tuned on the podcast. You'll have to go over there to watch the show after the show. Thank you for listening, subscribing, supporting. JoinTheFoot.com as a community and check out draft.com/ballers. Goodbye for some best ball.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.